Hello everyone. I just wanted to do a quick overview of how to remove a bearing housing on an Evinrude outboard lower unit. Essentially, you don't really need any kind of special tools. I'm just going to show you how to make a very simple tool to remove this device, and it's honestly pretty easy to remove. Now, this is the bearing housing. This is basically the thing that your propeller comes out of. So your propeller comes out of here and it spins. It usually has this anode over it. You might see it like this and you might think this is part of the bearing housing, but in fact it's not. There's just 4 bolts, 2 holding this on and 2 holding the bearing housing on itself. So you remove this, exposing the seal. This is the seal that keeps the water out from your outboard, and there's another seal in there which actually is missing, but that keeps the oil from coming out. So this keeps the water out and the other side keeps the oil in. Now, how is this held on? Now, this is held on literally by 2 tiny little clips. These clips, they go like this. They fit right in here, just like that, and they stick out the edge a little bit. And there's a reason why they stick out. So you can see on the motor itself, oh, this thing's rolling away. Stick it here. On the lower unit itself, you can see these 2, there's one little groove here and there's one opposite. Now, the bearing housing is held on in one simple way, and that is it. With these 2 metal clips which wedge into these grooves and essentially keep the bearing housing from sliding out. So essentially it slides in, then once it's all the way in there, you're able to put this little piece into here, and once the bolt here is tightened, it essentially just aligns it with these grooves inside the casing, and that's it. It's literally the most simple mechanism ever. It's just 2 little kind of tabs that keep it in place. Now the difficult part is getting this thing out, because obviously there's not many places to grab this. I mean, it should be in there pretty tight, so you're not just gonna take this with your hand and pull it out. Right? I mean, if you are, it's probably has some issues. It shouldn't come out that easily. Now, you might need some sort of gear puller or some device to take this out, but there's one thing you can do. You can buy 2 bolts. So essentially these bolts need to match the bearing housing bolts that you remove to hold down these 2 tabs. It's preferably to get other ones since you want them to be a little longer. And what you do is basically drill a hole for the prop shaft, and you have the 2 bolts. Now, to remove the prop shaft, all you do is just connect the bolts. So essentially you connect the bolt, screw the bolts into the bearing housing. The prop shaft will go through the center. This is why you need the hole. And at this point, you just gently use maybe 2 rubber mallets on each side to just pull the entire thing out of the base of, essentially out of the lower unit. And that's it. This is all you need. You don't need any kind of special tool. All you need is 2 simple bolts, a piece of wood with a hole drilled through it for the prop shaft, and this will allow you to remove the bearing casing. Now there's just one more thing you should note, and that is make sure you undo one of the oil screws or maybe something on the top of the drive shaft of the lower unit. Essentially you need to release the vacuum, so if you just try to take this out without undoing anything else on the lower unit, you'll be trying to pull this out and it will create a vacuum inside, so you will not be able to get it out. Now, as soon as you unscrew one of the screws, it'll allow air to go back inside the chamber from the back, and this thing should slide out pretty easily. Now, all this really costs is the price of these 2 bolts. You can generally pick them up on eBay very cheap. I think I got these for $2 each. And I've used this successfully multiple times. It works great, and it really didn't take long at all. So if you're just trying to remove your bearing housing, you don't really have any special tools, this is how you can do it.